Today we have the co-founders of the Articulate NYC, Anya Nova and Armando Mack. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Oh my god, I am a huge fan of Articulate, as you know, and I got to know you a little bit more personally before quarantine and COVID. But please do share, how do you describe yourself and what is the fun fact that people don't know about you?
Ooh, great question.
First.
I'll go first because usually I'm more long-winded and his answer's like 3 words. So how I describe myself, it literally changes every single day. It depends on how I wake up that morning. Sometimes I describe myself as an artist. Sometimes I describe myself as just a human being. Sometimes a healer. Sometimes a community leader. I feel like always infinite, changing, growing, evolving. As far as the fun fact, well, not a lot of people know that English is actually not my first language. So
Ooh, and what is your first language?
So I am like multilingual. So I grew up speaking Serbian, Russian, and right now I'm working towards being a polyglot. So that's my other fun fact is I want to learn as many languages as possible. I'm always like studying languages and anything dealing with words and language. That's my thing.
So I describe myself as a healer, definitely, for sure. An informer, a nurturer, and a listener. And a fun fact about me is, well, although my name is Armando, I do not speak Spanish fluently, at least.
Second fun fact is he's never been to anywhere outside of the U.S. until
July 3rd.
July, Puerto Rico. So he's gonna have to practice that Spanish.
Ay, vamos.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I love that. Well, I'm so excited for your trip.
I appreciate that. It's gonna be new to me.
So I have so many questions that I want to ask, but Articulate is such a beautiful space. And I remember the first time I shared at your open mic because I found you through Instagram and people were talking about how awesome you are. So, okay, let's go check that out. And I was freaking out, and I was probably the only Asian woman in that space. But you create such a beautiful space. And after you share your art, after you connect with the people, it really gives me and gave me the feeling of artist language, artist love, and art doesn't know the boundaries. It is so beautiful. Can't you just elaborate on what inspired you to start Articulate and the origin of that?
Yeah, sure. Basically, that feeling that you had where you're like, oh, okay, I'm the only one in the room that is scared, or, maybe I don't feel like that my voice belongs here, or all these kind of anxieties that a lot of us honestly have, even if we look so confident on stage. That's how I always felt. And I've been writing poetry since I was 8 years old. But I never felt like I was an artist. I was always pushed to like pursue the serious careers like sciences, things like that, especially as like an immigrant child. You have a lot of like pressure because a lot of times like you might be the first one going to college in your family, or you might be, you have a lot of opportunities that your parents didn't have. So you have all this like extra pressure. I'm sure you can relate. Art was just like a thing in the background, but then I started to see that it was something that was moving more and more to the foreground. But I still felt when I would go to these open mics and events, like, what? They don't need my voice. Like, they already are amazing. Like, what could I possibly contribute? And now I tell people, like, don't ever feel like that, because everyone has a story to share. I started it on my campus, actually. So I was going to Brooklyn College, and I was like, I feel like there needs to be like an art collective. There was a few art clubs on campus, but it wasn't really the space I was seeking to create. So I made it, and then through that, I made connections with different organizations and venues, and then it just grew from there. So it came from my own like self-discovery and wanting to help people to feel my voice matters and I do have something to contribute. So every time I hear that it was someone's first time on our stage and things like that, like that warms my heart because that's literally the whole point of why I started it.
Love that. One of the very special thing about Articulate is really you embrace all sorts of artists. The visual artist, the dancers, the filmmaker, and you literally have every single one of the artists. That is so exciting. How do you break the boundaries and really create the space like open for literally anyone?
The thing about it is that we understand that art is on the same via intention, but the way you express it depends on the being. But with that being said, they're all of equal of value. So why are they not equally represented? Try to have that same energy for each and every single creative so they're able to continue on. There's a lot of people that have amazing talent, but the reason why they stop is because they don't, it's not being represented from the outside world back, or it's not, or not enough recognition or spotlight. Some people just want to even hear some criticism. I mean, like, I need some feedback on what I'm doing as a being. Like, what is this work? How is this influencing others? But if you're not able to have that circumstance where you're able to do that, then what's the point? So for all artists and all creators, we pretty much want to have a platform for all. And then everybody will be able to basically express themselves, communicate with others, connect, and then elevate as a group, as a community.
I love that.
Think of like a movie. There's so many things that go into it. You have the actors, you have the costumes, you have the makeup, you have the hair, you have fashion. People have to like take stills of the scenes, or photography, videography, obviously. There has to be a director, there has to be, so it's so many different moving parts in one beautiful project. And to me, like, life is art, so we need all of that, not just one single art form. Although, yeah, we appreciate everyone, that any community that supports artists, because that's the goal. The more that we have, the more doors open for us. Even art forms that you're like we had a magician on our last live.
Oh my god, I love that.
Black magic on live.
How did that work?
How does that work?
He made a Rubik's Cube turn into Skittles. We still don't know how. We'll send you his IG. You can check it out. Even something like that, like, that's art, like the art of magic, or tarot or cooking, like, it's not just
we had
singing.
A lot of erotic poetry.
Important.
Important. Imperative. So everybody accepts it as well, because they know that the energy is going to be reciprocated back. And that's another reason why sometimes it's hard to have these things, collective, is because they don't feel like the energy will be reciprocated. We try to put there and we try to like perpetuate. So everybody feels like, loved.
I love that everybody feels loved. That it's always something that I seek and like I aspire to create in wherever space that I go. And two things that I really like from what you shared right now: one, life is art, and two, the reciprocation of energy. And I happen to know that both of you are, as much as an artist and organizer, both of you are healers. And one of the vision that you two have is to create community center for artists and holistic. So can you share a little bit about why healing energy work and holistic approach to art is so important, especially right now?
I want to explain this without, try to break confidentiality, but I noticed that when we have consultations, that a lot of people, their obstacle is not necessarily the big main stress points like finances and whatnot. Sometimes it's just like a person passed away in their family, and now they're emotionally down and they can't think about anything else but that. That's something that you're not gonna go to your record label and console with them for. You're not gonna be like, yo, I can't make music because my dad died, and I don't want to make music about my dad dying because I may be happy pop artist or whatnot, and it doesn't even match my personality and whatnot. You don't want to mess up your career in that field. So what do you do? Well, holistically speaking, you got to target the whole being in the layers. So spiritually speaking, it's gonna be different ways of influencing changes of thought. That's where the spirit lies. Emotionally speaking, that's where the soul realm is. So a lot of emotional hurt it can also be impetus for creative, but also can be a blockage. And if it is a blockage, we're able to treat that. It's not important now. It was always important. It's good that now is awareness being brought to it.
Yeah, it's always been important, and now more people are aware of it. Hence, the momentum is going on. Nova, did you have anything to add to that?
I would just say that in terms of like creating and creation, it kind of comes from the same place as some of like your spiritual centers. So if you're aware of the chakras and from the root to the sacral, like especially the sacral, it's the place of creation. So a lot of people think that that necessarily translates to sex, although it can. It's creation of any kind. So that same space where you're spiritually awakening, your art is also awakening, and there's ways to channel that energy, not just into like what the mainstream idea of what it is. So I think that without that element, there's something lacking from the creative process. So even if you're not like 100% woke or in tune or anything like that, like just having self-awareness simply really feeds into your art. Although like artists like to portray the struggle and like the dark side, and you really have to be in a place of balance to create and to sustain something. You might put out one song that from a place of pain, but that's not something that's sustainable. You don't always want to be in a place of distress. So if you want a career as an artist, you have to understand balance in your art and as a being. So they always go hand in hand, in my opinion.
I love that you guys started talking about the industry and what does it look like artists as a career. And one of the things that I also see it as on your website as well, but really getting out from the struggling mindset and turning that into thriving artists. So I love that you guys are starting to do an educating component and really seeing art as an entrepreneurship, art as a business. A lot of people are really set on the struggling artist mindset, right? If we're not struggling, we're not creating, or people are afraid of charging people. So what do we need as an artist, individual, and as a community to move forward and making ourselves sustainable and more thriving artists?
That's actually a loaded question. It's a lot of variables. Well, for them to be comfortable, first they gotta have knowledge of themselves. So when they have knowledge of themselves, they're gonna be comfortable with themselves. When they're gonna be comfortable with themselves, they're gonna understand their power. When they understand their power, they're able to express that power and not be able to have insecurity or self-esteem being diminished when something doesn't go in their favor because they understand their value. Once they understand their value, a lot of obstacles business wise will be taken care of, such as not being able to charge for certain services or to price point according to their actual value, because some people are scared to upcharge or whatnot. It is a business. So you are here to make money, but you're here to give services that value the customer as well. So it is reciprocal. But if you didn't understand your value, is in your eyes, it seems like you gave them nothing and they gave you money for that. And until that paradigm is shift, then you're not going to be able to succeed in anything you create. And as a community, it's just a bunch of other people having that same frame mindset. And you just have that transformation. And that's what we're here for too, because holistically speaking, it's important to understand the boundaries that some people have mentally speaking, because that's going to influence them action or inaction.
I agree with everything you said, and I'm glad you just brought up boundaries, because I was just thinking about what my answer would be to that question, and it would be to learning and setting boundaries is like crucial, and it ties in with that, like knowing your worth and your value, because that's what gives us trouble with saying no and setting boundaries, is that we feel like our self-worth is lacking, so we have to take on this project, or this is all that we deserve, or this is all that opportunity that is there for us. There's nothing else. So we say yes to things that later on we end up regretting. So as entrepreneurs, like, we deal with this as well, with, taking on too much because you're all about the hustle, and you want to do it all, and you don't want to miss an opportunity. But it's important to say no more than yes, and know that, even if you say no to in this moment, there's still going to be even better opportunities coming your way. And don't be afraid to say no, especially if it's something that you're kind of like on the fence about. Like, just trust yourself, because you know if it's for you. If you find yourself struggling to make contact or follow up, or it's pretty clear, like, the universe makes it clear if something is really for you, or it's something that you're like grasping at. And that is also in relationships. You shouldn't have to fight so hard to maintain your boundaries in relationships, because if so, then maybe that person or that opportunity is not really for you. But what is there for you will always be there for you, and there will not be blockages in your way. So I think that's like the paradigm shift. Like, it's okay to say no.
Exactly.
And every time you say yes, you're automatically saying no to other things. So if I say yes to a project or a meeting, I'm saying no to maybe my own personal self-care time, or there's another like scheduling conflict, or that space of being able to do what you want with that time. So every time you do say yes, you're actually saying no to other things. So wouldn't you like to be in charge of what you're saying no to, instead of just by default saying no to yourself?
That's such a powerful distinction. Like, would you like to be in charge of what you're saying no to? For someone who is still testing out when to say yes and when to say no, what would you suggest is the easiest thing for people to start implementing?
Literally, like, start practicing it, even if it's the littlest thing. There's various reasons why we end up wanting to please others, or there's a lot that goes into it, like, psychologically. It could have been things in the past, traumas in the past. So first of all, like, don't ever blame yourself, because even like we still struggle with it from time to time. There's no day where you're like, I've done a perfect job, I've said no to everything, like. But just having that intention and starting, even if it's someone, I don't know, ask for change, and you're like, you know what, I really don't have change right now, I'm sorry, no. Wherever you can implement it, it's like a muscle, it'll get stronger, and you'll be able to recognize those times. And my second suggestion would be, don't feel pressured. Like, if anyone is presenting you with a deal or opportunity, if they want your answer right this second, I would walk away. If they can't give you the courtesy to give you at least 24 hours to think about it, I'm very hesitant. Even though it's like, this coupon only lasts for the next, that's not true. Like, that's just part of their sales rhetoric. I would definitely take that time just to allow yourself, because sometimes we say yes out of like an instinct. So if you give yourself a moment to like, do I really want this? That can make a difference. So ask for the time would be my second suggestion. Someone once told me, like, I don't like to get into business with anyone who doesn't take at least like 2 days to think about my proposal. I think that's like a really good practice, but at least like 24 hours, just because how do you know unless you give yourself time to say no?
And just to add on to that, you sound a little bit more professional when you're in business, when you say, let me sleep on it, I'll get back to you.
You command more respect automatically, even if you end up saying yes, and let's say you messed up and dang it, I said yes again, but at least you command some respect just simply asking for the time to process it.
One thing I would say to keep in mind when like propositions are being made, anything you say yes to or no to, this is directly in relation to your time, and that time is direct linked to how much time you have to yourself to have fun, pleasure, take care of business, family, support system, etc. So the more that you say yes to, the less time you have for what you got to do, and what you want to
do. It is the priority. And I need to learn how to say, yeah, let me think on it. I love the way you said it. Like, I'm going to work on that. as an artist, like we always have the FOMO, the fear of missing out. And it's like, oh, if I don't have this, like who knows when the next gig's gonna happen. It's such a thing, and I'm so glad you shared that powerful message. And like, yeah, let me sleep on it and I'll get back to you. How powerful.
The instinct that makes people instantly want to buy them, that impulsivity is the fear of missing out. But the thing is, the opportunity only exists is if you enter it. So that makes you part of the opportunity. So without you, it cannot exist. Even though in your mind you're like, that doesn't make any sense. They can just offer it to somebody else. But you will always have that opportunity because it's always going to be someone presenting you with something. That makes you always that opportunity. And trust me, there's no reason to have a product if there's nobody to sell it to.
And it ties into the scarcity mindset or versus the thriving mindset, where if you think, oh, I'm not going to have another opportunity like this ever again, then you're creating that reality. But the truth is, like he said, why are they coming to you in the first place? It's because you are of value. You have something of value. You have something to offer. So you saying, give me a moment means that they move on already. That's probably not the best deal for you, because that means that you're just like a commodity to them. But if they truly have that in mind for you, it won't be a problem for you to think on it. And anytime I've been on the receiving end of that, like I propose something to an artist and they're like, oh, can I let you know by Monday? I respect that. I'm not gonna like, okay, you snooze, you lose, So anyone that's good business practices, like they will respect that for sure. So don't think in lack. Think, this is one of many. There's more to come. There's always opportunities coming in. Say affirmations to yourself, whatever it is to get you in that mindset. I know that the type of person you are, the type of energy that you put out into the world, I'm sure that you have a snowball of opportunities coming your way. So you don't have to worry about it. You can say no to 90% of them and still be thriving. I'm quite sure of that.
Thank you. I really appreciate you for that. It's very, very refreshing, and I'm learning and having a lot of reflection in my head right now. And like, let me take some notes. Yeah, and also as an artist, and I'm the person who always have something like a multiple project that's going on. I don't know how many projects I'm working on sometimes, right? So having the boundary to say no, or let me have a moment, as well as going back to the boundary of self, like how am I operating right now, and having the awareness of who am I, how am I doing, and can I check in with myself. So let's go back to the question about you two, because you're operating so much thing, and creating community is no joke. Creating community and helping artists is no joke. So how do you create boundary for yourself as a human being, as an energetic being? How do you take care of yourself right now?
I want you to start off with that. I got something, but
I was gonna say he's better at that than me. I will have to admit, but you really have to like create the space. So the same way that you take your projects and your work seriously, you have to take your time just as seriously. So whatever that takes for you, like for me, I have to literally put into my calendar meditation time, journaling time. The same way I put my meetings and appointments when I'm doing my scheduling, I give myself certain office hours. I'm pretty firm about that. There's, sometimes it's exceptions, of course. But for the most part, like I do my best to take control of my time, and whatever I gotta do, if it's as silly as I gotta like plan every little thing into my day, even if it's eating or whatever, like if that's what works, that's what works. For some people it may be enough just to like block off the time, but I have like the specific tasks in order for my morning routine, night routine, and just practice, like, because there's days that I don't do my best, and then I don't feel my best that day or the next day. And having also support and someone to hold you accountable, not just for your serious like work projects, but have like an accountability partner for your self-care. So Mac helps me out a lot with that, because he's a lot better with self-care, and he's like, okay, that's it, clock out. So having someone in your corner, you know, even if you don't have a go-to person, setting yourself up for success. So if your accountability partner could be your phone giving you alarms, like it's time to meditate, it's time to clock out, it's time to go outside for a walk. I would say whatever works for you, because everyone is different. But whatever works, do that, but make a conscious effort to hold your time sacred.
I always like to tell everybody that I see that experience like a lot of like lack of self-care or whatnot is dedicate a full day, a 24-hour day to yourself. Selfishly, no, not selfishly, self-fully, because I want you to be full of yourself and to actually fill your cup full again, because you can't pour air out anymore. They're not taking that. You know, provide that water, but you gotta fill your cup up. So when you have that day to yourself, you first wake up, you turn off your phone, or you just have it on don't disturb. You're not taking any incoming calls, because any energy that's being received, all that frequency that's coming in, first through the phone, second through the energy of the person that's talking to you, you're taking a lot of burdens that you just woke up, man, and now you got to hear about some BS. No, eliminate that, mitigate, eliminate. So no phone calls. Now you just hearing yourself. You're hearing silence. You're hearing your heartbeat. Now you just automatically a little bit more conscious of you as a being. Okay. Now I gotta focus on myself, because all I hear is myself. And second step, you probably might want to put something in your system. Now you're gonna be like, okay, wow, my back hurt, or my stomach hurt. Maybe I should not have this thing today. But if you have other stuff on your mind, even though your stomach may hurt, you may put something in your system that may, exacerbate the feeling. But now, the less stuff on your mind, the more clarity you have to be more introspective, to be more caring and aware of yourself and the things that you need. So that's what that one day a week can do for you.
It is so important to fill your own cup first. And I love the ways that you have to first be full for yourself and for other people. We talked about a lot about artists, mindset, and business, and now we're talking about you as a person. And with what is going on in the world right now, we're recording this in June of 2020, and do you see more space for artists to bring in change in this world right now? Knowing that you need to be full first, knowing all these abundance, and you get to have a time for yourself to answer, yo, let me think on it. Like with all the tools implemented, where do you see the positioning of artists moving?
I always say art is essential. And lately, I've been saying that we need art now more than ever, because for some people, art is therapy. For some people, art is activism. For some people, art is escape. Like, there's a lot of craziness going on right now, and it's a very heavy time on your mental health, your spiritual health. And it's a big burden to carry, and you shouldn't have to feel that it's your job to like be at the forefront constantly and like feel guilty if you're not out protesting, or you're not doing whatever it is that people are saying that you should be doing. One of my favorite sayings is, and I know that like I suffer from should-itis, where I should be doing this, I should be doing this, I should be doing this, and I should all over myself. So don't should on yourself.
Not that either.
But especially with social media, it's like it's impossible to. I would like to meet a person if they say that they're just like living their la-di-da life right now, and like see what kind of bubble that they're in, because even if you're someone who has not been affected personally in the past, it's like you can't go anywhere now without it being in your face. So that is super, super draining, especially for empaths. And most artists are empath by nature. We absorb pain and negativity and we bring light and we transform it into something beautiful. Sometimes we're also a sponge and we can get weighed down by everything that's going on in the world. So I think like now more than ever, that whole creative and spiritual symbiosis is crucial. And everyone that we have our consultations with, we check in. How is your mental health? How are you feeling today? Like, how is your family? These are things that, you know, some of them are loaded questions. Like, how are you became like my most dreaded question during some of my lowest points. It's important to keep showing up, to keep holding space. But like we said before, Lisa Nichols, the motivational speaker, she talks about having your cup not just filled but overflowing, and then pour that love. But wait until it's overflowing before you start pouring love into others, because you're going to run yourself dry. So I'm paraphrasing, but something to that effect. Without focusing on ourselves, although it may seem selfish, you cannot serve anyone else. So now more than ever, like you have to check in with yourself and check in with others, hold space for others, but first and foremost with yourself. And through the ripple effect of your good energy, you are also doing your part, because there's many different ways to protest. We know of someone, she creates like sage bundles for people to use during the protest. Like, she can't be there in person, but she's there in spirit. I noticed that there's a lot of shaming and blaming of self-policing within our community, like what you should and shouldn't be doing. And I think that that's detracting from progress. And I just want to always remind people, like, don't fall into the shoulditis. Like, you should be doing what's best for you, and then within your capacity, helping those around you. But remember, within your capacity, because if you burn out, you know, it's not sustainable. And this right now, what we're going through, this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. We need everyone primed and at their highest self, so that this is not just a movement and a trend that just fades away. Because like, we're the generation that can actually see sustainable change, and this requires breaking down systems that were built in a way that oppresses. So if they were built that way, we have to literally dismantle them or scorch the earth and start over. So it's not going to take a day. It's not going to take a year. It's going to probably take the rest of our lifetime, if we're being realistic. I'm very hopeful that change is coming. I know that change is coming, and we are going to be the ones to facilitate that. But we all got to be at our highest self for it to not just be fizzling out.
Oh, she says everything.
I am very hopeful too. This is such a beautiful time. Like, as it's right before everything moves forward, all the gunks, all the nasty things gotta float up, and this literally has been the wake up call for so many people. Like, people have to acknowledge that it is there. Whether they are going to ignore it, they're gonna retreat to bubble, or they're gonna step into the uncomfortable feeling and face it. Like, people are aware, and which is a very exciting time.
And the work starts within, so it's not negotiable. Like, everyone has to do that work, and inner work is some of the most taxing. Like, it's not just self-care, incense, like beautiful butterflies. Like, no, it's unpackaging trauma and years of generational curses, and like, there's so much that needs to come to the light, and it's gonna hurt because you're opening a wound, but it's the only way to heal.
Absolutely. Yeah, so for those of people who are listening to this, and if they want to learn more about Articulate and want to work with you guys, how would people know and find out about you guys?
Our website is www.articulatenyc.com. Instagram is Articulate NYC. Also, my holistic consulting page is REKNEW Renew.co. And that's it.
So yeah, they can go to the website. If they want to be part of the network, they can apply there. All our contact information, or they can reach out on social media. We are here to support not just artists, but entrepreneurs and the community any way we can. So any projects that people want promoted or supported, we're here to serve the community.
Mm-hmm. And we have free consultations, whether on the artist side and for as well as the holistic health side. We view both of that as important, especially if you want to create. It's hard to create when half of your body is not functioning, or if you're not mentally stable.
Absolutely. It is about the whole balance, the whole you, the holistic, the entire fulfilling yourself first. And one last question that I would like to ask you too is that what is your call to action for the world right at this moment?
My call to action is don't stop. Whatever you do, whatever you got to do, even if you have to slow down, take a step back, take a breath, but do not stop. Like doing the inner work and as much of the outer work as you can, because the world needs you, the world needs your voice, the world needs your contribution. So please, whatever it is that you are doing to elevate yourself or your community, please don't stop. And if you need any help, please don't hesitate to reach out.
And I would just say, breathe. And if you feel bad or feel down, breathe slow.
Breathe and don't stop. Thank you so much for sharing your powerful wisdom and being who you are and your love and support for the community. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for all that you do, because you are an amazing light, and just your energy as a being is plenty enough. Yeah. So don't feel bad to say no to people, because you are more than worth it.
Yeah, too much precious energy to squander on people that don't reciprocate.
Thank you. I'll stop with, let me think on it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, you two.
Thank you.
Have a good one.